Well, hello and welcome to the Three Muscateers. That'll be the three of us, and we have Peter Scudamore-Smith, Master of Wines and cultivator of Uncorked and Cultivated. And we have Ken Gargett, the scribe to the stars. So today we're going to be reviewing two Semillons from two legends of the Hunter Valley. The first one is from Ian Riggs at Brokenwood. They're both 2015, so we're going to crack the top on them and have a pour.
I don't need that much.
You're much more fun when you're drunk though, Scud, so I'll pour you a full one.
It's very low alcohol, so it goes a long way.
So that's the ILR from Brokenwood, which is their top Semillon, I think.
It is. It is named after the man himself, Ian Riggs. The best. It's not always the same vineyard. It's whatever vineyard they believe provides the best wine of the vintage, and not all vintages. And this one, I think, is the Murphy's Vineyard in the Lovedale region. It's the first time they've ever used it for the ILR.
So it's basically the Semillon that they pick to last the distance, really. Many Semillons age very well, but to be the star of the company, it's got to be the longest liver. So I presume that is the case. We don't have a white background here, but if you look at these wines in the glass, they're very pale. And that's quite astounding because these wines are 7 years old.
And I think this is the current release. I'm not sure, but it'd be pretty close. They wouldn't have too many younger than that for ILR. So it just does give you an indication that these things live for 1 million years. They're just the good ones.
My oldest is 1968, and with the advent of Coravin, of course, I can have a glass once a month for quite a long time. And by a glass, I mean 15 mils.
I remember one of the guys we used to drink a bit with had an old adage that his auntie's mother's brother's cousin once met a guy who drank a Semillon that was ready to drink.
But that said, you'd still drink these today.
Absolutely.
Quite happily.
Let's go back to how these wines become what they are. Firstly, some of the oldest vineyards in Australia. Firstly, some of the oldest white vineyards in Australia. Hunter Valley, first established in the late 1820s. In fact, some of the vineyards in the Hunter to this day were planted in the 1890s, so great history. Therefore, they're pretty well, if the vines can last that long, therefore the wines of each vintage can last that long, but there's a reason for that, is they're picked very early, therefore low alcohol. Both these wines are around 11%.
Yeah, I tried to find out when the first vines were planted. The first Semillon was planted in the Hunter, and everyone who asks has got a different answer, but I think the earliest I got was 1828 from Riggsy, and then others were during the 1830s. The oldest vines in the Hunter now for Semillon are about 1900, I think. I don't think they've got any of those very old ones still.
Drayton's got 1890s still.
Oh well, thereabouts.
And the Tyrrell family have 1920s vineyards.
Yeah, well, but yeah, well that's younger than 1900. But yeah, and originally, of course, it was called, been called everything from green grape. It was Shepherd's Riesling, then it was Hunter Riesling.
Hunter Chablis, Hunter White Burgundy, and now Semillon.
Yeah.
And Hock too, yes.
Yeah, because we had much laxer labelling laws in those days, so you could pretty much call your wines whatever you wanted and didn't have to have a drop of, they were calling them Riesling, and yet there was not a drop of Riesling in them. And I asked Riggsy...
Was that to identify with stuff people knew as German Riesling?
Not so much that. Riggsy reckons it was because at the time Riesling was the great white in the world and it was getting the highest prices, So they just said, okay, well, we'll call ours Riesling so we can get good prices.
Or hock, yeah.
But again, you get different reasons for these things.
Well, there's a really funny thing because Lindemans had a wine called Hunter River Riesling, Hunter River White Burgundy, Hunter River Chablis, all made from Semillon, except the White Burgundy had 20% Verdelho. So the wines were just long livers. We didn't have to call the variety, and of course now Aussies only think varietally.
So off to the wines.
Which one we're tasting? Brokenwood first.
Yeah, the ILR. What's Riggsy's middle name?
Leslie, I think.
Serves him right.
So,
He speaks highly of you.
are we comparing? Okay. The ILR has a lot more richer age character than the Tyrrell's wine, which is a little bit restrained.
The Tyrrell's is a bit dusty almost,
Yes,
that sort of chalky, dusty.
Slightly cardboardy, that sort of more cereal rather than oiliness, which is Hunter River. Semillon with some bottle age starts to go quite oily. It's
For the Tyrrell's, it's worth noting that's not their
top wine.
This is from a single vineyard, the Belford Vineyard. Their top wine is VAT 60. VAT 1.
VAT 1.
And I think they first made that in about 63. So anyway,
Now they've reverted to calling some of their older vineyards by the age of the vineyard, so that the approach by Tyrrell's is changing. But the VATs were the first of the direct-to-the-customer sales. When Tyrrell's first started doing what we'd call in France domain bottling, in other words, bottling at the source, growing on that block of land, making the wine there, then bottling it there, then selling it there. Mind you, a lot of it would have been posted all over Australia. So that was in the 60s, wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think their first was 63. I think the first Brokenwood Semillon was 83, which is the first year Riggsy arrived.
Yeah, that's more modern day winemakers where these guys, Tyrrell's, have been around for
a very long time.
Very long time. So taste.
They're really two very different wines, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. For the same vintage.
And 2015 was a pretty good vintage in that Hunter, wasn't it?
Good, not great, I think, is probably, although it was probably vintage of the century somewhere.
Yeah.
So
Bordeaux.
the ILR smells richer and riper, tastes leaner. The single vineyard Belford from Tyrrell's tastes restrained, but in the palate it's fuller. And both wines are going to be very dry because they're 7 years old, so 7 years in the bottle, any wine dries out, at 7 years of age. But the dryness here is a part of the pairing with the flavour development of the Semillon.
Is that too something to do with the acid content in the wine?
Well, let's get to the acid content because it's very high. So these wines are quite light on their feet and very crispy, very sapid, out of your mouth very quickly. So they're refreshing and they make me think about oysters straight away when I have something like this.
When you pick early, you're going to get higher acid.
Higher acid and brightness, very bright. And that's why they used to call it Riesling.
There's another theory. Yeah, there's as many theories as you want.
But that absolutely adds to the longevity of the wine, doesn't it?
Well, if this wine at 7 years of age is that pale peapod green, imagine what it's going to be at 25 years and 45 years.
So if you're looking for something, to buy as a birth year wine for your child's 21st, you could do a lot worse.
You can't go far wrong. I guess.
And
now,
Screw Cap is going to make sure they go much longer than a lot of the older ones with dodgy corks.
Yes, I used to talk to Phil Ryan, the winemaker at McWilliams at the time,
They had
Mount Pleasant,
so many problems.
and they used to run them down the line with a light behind, and anything that was dark was pulled off, and 25% under cork was pulled off the line, and 75% went into being labelled. That's how bad the cork production was.
Yeah.
Okay. Wind
A
up.
great blessing to have screw caps.
So who's got a preference?
I think today probably the Belford for me. It's just a bit more giving on the palate, but I think I'd really like to see that in 10 years' time. I think it'd be something very special.
I'm going to go I'd drink the ILR today, I think, but I also think it's 25, 45 years, but that's not far behind it. And it's probably, we should have perhaps had the VAT 1 to compare the two to be more fair, but so that's going to give you the Vineyard characters. Well, obviously this will as well, but it changes year to year. But I think that's drinking just magnificently today, and that's maybe a whisker behind it.
I think the ILR's showing austerity on the palate, which means it's got so much more time to go, whereas the Belford is closed on the nose, but if we let it sit for another 5 minutes, it'll probably get better, and it's very rich in the palate. So that's the drink. The ILR, keep another 10, 20, 30 years.
So I hope you've enjoyed the first episode of the Three Muscateers, and we thought we'd start with an iconic Aussie wine, which is the Hunter Semillon, and I hope this helps in your choice of wine next time you go out to buy one. So it's a wrap from us, and thank you very much.
Three Muscateers is brought to you by Grays. If you like the wines the boys tried today, click the link below. Chris, Peter and Ken are dressed by themselves, and when interstate, like to stay where they can get a discount. This has been a Three Muscateers production.